Hello, this is Kyle Kimball presenting on Equip Me Rentals for Spring 2018. Picture your perfect ski vacation with your family or your friends. Great weather, great times to be had. Maybe you need to go rent some equipment first. Also, think about if you wanted to paddleboard or go camping with the family. This is what you're thinking about. But that might not always happen that way. In fact, this is what you might see. Long lines just to get outdated equipment. Or maybe you need to just drive some more between your house to go rent the equipment and then just to get to the ski resort. So how does Equip Me Rentals revolutionize this industry? We plan on making renting better. And how are we going to do that? We're going to provide easily accessible locations for your equipment, high quality, moderately priced equipment to be rented, and also for winter and summer activities, since these are the majority of when people use the equipment. So let me first, before we get into a lot of the details about the company, let me introduce myself as the founder and owner of Equip Me. I have past experience in the trucking industry mainly through 15 years of experience at Kenworth Truck Company. During this experience, I had engineering background, which is mainly my background, also product marketing and sales experience. I'm ambitious and driven to succeed, and what I'm also mostly passionate about is outdoor activities. Let's now get into the industry analysis for Equip Me. The recreational rental business is almost $1 billion in revenues per year in the United States. In Washington State alone, which is where we plan to kick off the business, is about a $26.2 million spend throughout each year. This is done through mainly outdoor activities and sports, which are very popular throughout the whole Northwest and particularly Washington. And there's also growing enthusiasm year over year. Revenue itself is growing about 1.4% yearly, but that can also take off depending on what the weather is like and also younger people, younger generations as they become to be older. It's now time to look at our competition. So Equip Me will have competition on multiple fronts in the rental industry. First, there are on-site rentals. These on-site rentals are at positions where the consumer will actually utilize the product. Locations like Summit at Snoqualmie or Mount Baker Ski Resort are areas where you would go skiing, snowboarding, and you'd rent your equipment on site. Also, something like What's Up for stand-up paddle and surfboards or kayaks is another location where it's near a lake and somewhere where you could rent summer equipment. There are also major off-site rental locations like sporting goods stores or our main competition being REI or Recreational Equipment Industries. This is a location where you would have to drive, like I mentioned earlier, you'd have to drive a long distance and rent your equipment from REI and then take it to the actual location yourself. These offer a lot more long-term rentals because you don't want to necessarily drive there every weekend to pick up your equipment. Also, there are small local rental locations that are very similar to REI but specialize in rentals and do a lot of different things that REI does not do. Ascent Outdoors or KAF Adventures are a couple locations that are in the greater Seattle area that would be considered competition for this. Also, there are customers obviously that have their own equipment, so they've purchased their own equipment, whether that's new or used equipment that they've purchased. Those are available at REI, like I mentioned before, Dick's, or many online locations like Backcountry, Sierra Trading Post, or Moose Jaw. These locations are mainly going to compete by providing equipment to purchase and not necessarily for rental. This is where Equip Me can actually do a better job in terms of providing a lower cost of ownership for somebody or to customers that want the latest and greatest technology without spending thousands of dollars a year. So what are areas of improvement that Equip Me can do better? For on-site rentals, they typically do not have very good customer service, have long lines, and little to no online presence. This is where Equip Me can excel. provide great customer service, have shorter lines, and also offer up a great website. For major off-site locations, it's all about the location. If it's far away from where you're going to perform the activity, it's typically not something that a customer is going to use. This is where we can excel away from customers like REI or the like. For local and small rental locations, they typically do not have great brand awareness, and also they tend to be away from the activity as well, similar to the off-site rentals. And as for new or used equipment that people may already own or that they are planning to purchase, they typically have high costs. They have to be stored at their house, and also they're further away from the activity as well. This is where EquipMe can do better. They can have low upfront costs. They don't require storage on site or at somebody's house, and their location would be on site near the activities. In the rental equipment industry, EquipMe plans to first operate in Washington State, mainly in the King and Snohomish counties or Puget Sound area. This is due to its high population in mainly Seattle, Bellevue, Tacoma, and also some of the northern cities as well. And there also is an abundance of outdoor-rich activities that people can participate in. Some of the demographics of who we are targeting, mainly single 16 to 35-year-olds, some of the families also that desire flexibility for new equipment. So not only flexibility in the equipment itself, but also flexibility in being able to trade it in and upgrade their equipment year to year. Let's talk about the marketing plan a bit. Our main motto will be to get the most out of your adventure. Getting the most out of your adventure will be our main branding scheme and everywhere on all of our advertising. From a marketing perspective, we want to focus on the 5 F's as noted here. So from a functional standpoint, we want to offer the right equipment. Financially, we want to offer an affordable alternative to many of the other competitors out there. Freedom, we want to offer convenient locations and areas to pick up, whether it's local to the activity or also at a center hub. Feelings, we really want to empower the customer to tackle any kind of outdoor activity without feeling financially burdened. And in the future, we want to be there. We want to be there for the customer in the future whenever they may need rental equipment. And how are we going to do this? We'll mainly spend most of our budget, actually 60 to 80% of our budget, on online marketing and social media activities. This is going to be through search engine optimization, direct email marketing, Facebook and Twitter updates, as well as relationship building through companies like Meetup or GoSociety. Also, not only on online marketing and social media, but we also want to make sure that we have the strongest website out there. So we want it obviously to be easy to use and offer up quick online reservations. This is one thing that we saw at many other areas, is that it really needs to be quick. Also, from a video and image standpoint, we want it to really draw the customer in. So images kind of like on the right here, where it's showing backpackers and really taking on the outdoors, we want to focus on images and videos and really give them a sense of what they're going to be doing. The management team for EquipMe is shown here and is made up of the 5 main people that are responsible for this business plan. Logan Foley would end up being Vice President for Sales and Partnerships with her extensive background in marketing, both national and local. Zach Youngblood would head up our Vice President role for Supply Chain and Logistics and has a very good in-depth knowledge of financial. Sales Manager would likely be Shawnee Young, and with experience in customer communication in the hotel industry. And Sean Whitcomb would be a great overall knowledge base to be utilized as a training manager role. The operations will be set up in a typical hub and spoke type of plan, as you can see here, where there will be a central storage and maintenance and distribution center that will distribute inventory from the hub, or what we're calling that central storage or hub location, out to the first 6 locations or satellite or spoke locations. The hub itself would be located in Everett, Washington, and outside of that, we would have the 6 satellite locations in Madrona Park, Lake Washington, Lake Sammamish, Stevens Pass, Snoqualmie Pass, and Mount Baker. So let's look at the risk analysis that we've looked at for EquipMe. We see that the industry is trending towards more urban and rental properties, which is really kind of seen as a benefit for our equipment. So this is a industry trend as well as a potential risk in the future if we're trying to get into locations that aren't as urban or densely populated. One of the other risks associated is consumers that already own equipment. So our survey showed that a lot of our population already owns equipment. So what we can do better is to focus on future needs. New equipment, new technology, new ways that we can get into the rental equipment and bring those customers in when it comes to them wanting the new technology. In order to employ our business plan as set forward, we really need a strong inventory system that connects our customer information and online orders, as well as a tracking system that's available that will pull together our hub rental equipment as well as what we have on site for all of our satellite locations, and an effective way to transmit that inventory from each location and sharing amongst all the locations. One of the ideas that we have is to utilize an off-the-shelf system that has all-in-one technology like Easy Rent Out. This allows point-of-sale systems not only in the store, but also barcoding, inventory tracking, online tracking, and we see this as an opportunity to utilize in each location as well as the hub, and also integrate into our website. From a social responsibility standpoint, obviously with being in the outdoor equipment industry, we want to utilize a leave no trace type of attitude, volunteering and donating to local charities, as well as utilizing sustainable activities throughout all of our operations. What this means is to employ all of these different activities throughout all of our operations so that we don't impact the environment. We also want to maintain high ethical standards. We want to make sure that we maintain customer security as our utmost importance. When it comes to an exit strategy for EquipMe, I feel like that even though there is little risk associated with our business plan, there is always going to be risk. What we hope to do is that we will minimize those risks through mainly focusing on inventory and assets for our locations during startup. Upon successful operation, though, we hope that it will become that EquipMe could potentially be a buyout opportunity for competition. This will garner much attention with the rental industry, and we're thinking that some of our competition may look at buying out our opportunities. From a financial perspective, you can see that we have our income statement here, which is the estimated revenues for each of the summer, winter, and camping or hiking type of equipment for 2019, 2020, and beyond. We're looking at strong projected sales of almost $1 million for the summer and almost $1 million for winter. Camping equipment might take a little bit longer to catch on, and there's a smaller amount of revenue that can be garnered through that. So we see a little bit less, but in the grand scheme of things, only almost $2 million in the first year, and then in the second year, we will able to expand our summer and winter each year by almost double. Cost of goods sold are only about 10 to 12% of our sales, which is pretty amazing, but considering that the majority of the cost of goods sold is going to be maintenance and upkeep on the equipment, it is pretty realistic. Looking at our operating expenses, we're showing about $300,000 per year in operating expenses given that initial hub plus 6 locations. Upon further acquisitions and expansion, obviously these would be doubled or tripled depending on how many hub locations are in operation. Other expenses are shown here. We would end up having a vehicle that would service and be able to take inventory from location to location as well as from the hub to location. and then also depreciating our inventory based on the life cycle of the equipment. In the end, we see a break-even point sometime during that first year, and then in net income of almost $2 million, or $1.5 to $2 million in year 2 and year 3, which we're assuming would be 2020 and 2021 timeframe. Some more financial information. We're looking at return on assets in 2019, which is at year 1. We see a strong ability to pay our liabilities with a 1.3 current ratio by the end of the year 2019. So the total investment to kick off this business opportunity is around $873,000, as you can see on the right. The majority of that is through startup expenses and pre-startup working capital. We would need a total funding of around $973,000 with owner equity investment of $100,000 and a potential opportunity to cut into that funding required with that invested capital. So I'm looking for $400,000 of investment capital and in return up to 30% of ownership of EquipMe. Going back to what I mentioned before, that's really a low risk opportunity with almost $450,000 of fixed assets that we will be seeing. I hope that you can see our vision of making long lines and bad rental experiences a thing of the past and invest in EquipMe rentals. Thank you for your time.